Most people drift through connection, then wonder why love feels like a dream they never fully woke up from. Let that sit with you for a second, my friends, because we live in a world that's become really good at looking, but has forgotten how to truly see. You've been told your whole life that to be desired, you've got to perform, be more beautiful, quieter, sexier, more mysterious. They say men are easy, that all they care about is a body, a thrill, a woman who knows how to play it. Right, but let me ask you this. If that's really true, then why are so many women doing all those things and still feeling unseen? Here's the truth. They never told you. It's not your age. It's not your size. It's not the lines on your face or the fact that you've traded wild nights for calm mornings. That man didn't drift because you lost your charm. He pulled away because you stopped being truly noticed, and maybe because you also stopped seeing him. See, men aren't machines. They're not puzzles you can figure out with online tricks and some lip gloss. A man's soul doesn't get stirred by gimmicks. It wakes up when a woman dares to go when no one else ever did. When she stops touching him like a habit and starts touching him like a discovery. Now imagine this, a car shining on the outside, but the engine untouched. You wouldn't get far, would you? That's how most relationships look these days. All surface, no depth. You keep fixing the outside, hoping it will solve the distance, but the key is hidden much deeper. And most people are either too scared, too rushed, or too unaware to look for it, but not you. If you're still here listening, then something inside you is waking up. Let's break a few myths today, because love isn't gone. It's just buried under patterns, under fear, under everything you were taught about how to keep him drawn to you. You were told to speak sweeter, smile, bigger, touch more, need less, but no one shared the real secret. True connection doesn't come from becoming smaller. It comes from being more aware, more steady, more willing to see past the surface. Now listen closely, because I'm going to show you. 8 places a man deeply wants to be touched, though he might never say so out loud. And no, we're not talking about the obvious. This isn't one of those 10 tricks to drive him crazy kind of things. This is about energy, awareness, presence, touching parts of him the world forgets, the ones he's kept hidden even from himself. And don't worry, we'll keep it real lighthearted and honest, because deep doesn't need to be heavy. You'll smile, you'll nod, and maybe even have a few oh wow moments. That's part of the journey. But stay close. These 8 places, they're not just about touch. They're symbolic. Each one is like a locked room in a house you thought you already knew. And when you open those doors, not to impress, but to connect, you don't just draw him nearer, you also awaken yourself again. Because here's the wildest part, my friends. The way you touch him says more about how you feel about yourself than about him. You're not just waking him up, you're waking you up to your own strength, your presence, your right to take up space without trying to earn love. So if you're tired of doing everything right and still feeling not enough, keep listening. We're going beneath the surface, beyond the usual lines, beyond the masks. Hit that like button, subscribe. If you haven't yet, not for me, but for you, because this path, it's not about being flawless. It's about being real. It's about waking up together and keep walking with me, because what's coming might just change how you love from this moment on. Number 1, the lower back, where his burden rests. The strongest men don't break in battles. They break in silence when no one sees the weight they've carried by themselves. Let that one breathe in your chest, my friends, because we're starting with the one place that holds more than muscles. It holds memory, the lower back. It's not the spot people rush to when they want to flirt. No, this isn't about attraction. This is about awareness. See, when a man stands strong, we assume he's unshaken. But what you don't see are the years pressing down on that spine. Not just physical strain, but emotional burden, the choices he made with no support, the responsibility he carried without praise, the nights he stayed awake, so others could rest that weight. It doesn't show in his face. It lives quietly right there in his lower back. Now, imagine this. He's in the kitchen doing something simple. Not a big deal, just daily life happening. You walk over, not flirty, not seeking, just present. You rest your hand gently, slowly on that curve of his back. You don't say anything. You let your touch speak what words can't. I notice what you carry, and you're not alone anymore. Now, I know some of you might wonder, won't that be awkward? Isn't that too much? What if he pulls away? And here's the truth. You're not touching for a reaction. You're touching to return him to himself, because that spot, That's where his armor starts to give way, not because he's weak, but because someone finally showed up not to take, but to honor. It's like laying your hand on a dam, just enough to remind the water it doesn't have to crash to be noticed. And no, it's not some kind of magic. It's not a trick. It's about intention. It's about being still, not rushing, not performing, just present, like gravity. Because when a man's been holding things together for so long, the most healing thing you can offer isn't to fix him. It's to stand beside him. That kind of touch doesn't just land on his body, it lands in his story. And stick with me, because the next place we go isn't about noticing, it's about reminding him of a kind of care he forgot he even wanted. Let's move forward, it goes deeper. Number 2, the inner arm, where simplicity lives. The deepest needs don't come from lust, they grow from safety. The kind that feels like peace, not like a performance. Let that sit with you a second, my friends, because if the lower back is where his armor loosens, the inner arm is where the younger version of him remembers what love without conditions felt like. It's not a place people rush to touch. It's not flashy. It's not seductive. And maybe that's why it matters most. Think about it. How often does that part of his body get touched with softness, with thought, with genuine kindness? Not in a flirty moment, not in a heat of the moment grab, but with stillness and ever care hardly ever. Because somewhere along the line, affection turned into something people traded, touch became a tool, and the kind of love that once showed up in bedtime hugs and random squeezes when he was a child vanished, replaced by pressure and performance and expectations. But when you reach for that inner arm, not with urgency, but with peace, something old inside him begins to wake up. It's not desire, it's not teasing, it's memory. It's the part of him that says, you don't have to try so hard right now. You just have to be here. And I know your thoughts might say, but isn't that too subtle? Won't he even notice? Won't I look weird? Probably yes. But hear me clearly. The strongest messages aren't loud. They don't shout. They whisper to the nervous system. They move past skin into memory. And you're not waking up his want. You're waking something more sacred. His ability to be touched without being used. And when a man experiences that, when you gently touch the inside of his arm with only calm presence, he doesn't recoil. He breathes deeper because suddenly he remembers that once love didn't come with strings, and maybe, just maybe, it still doesn't have to. You're not trying to prove anything. You're reminding him of something precious that got lost beneath all the pressure to always prove himself. And that reminder, that's real intimacy. Stay with me, because where we're heading next, most women skip, not because it's too bold, but because it's too honest. And when touched the right way, it builds real trust. Number 3, the jawline, power and permission. A man will only let down his guard when he knows your hands won't become weapons. Let that echo, my friends, because we're walking into sacred space. The jawline, not just a strong feature or a place for kisses. No, this is deeper. This is where a man's power and pain rest side by side. See, the jaw isn't just about attraction, it's a symbol. It's where tension sits, where unspoken words gather, where pride holds on, where the heart wants to soften. And when you touch him there, slow present, without needing anything, you're not just touching a man, you're telling his soul, you're safe with me. It's strange how one small gesture can mean so much. Now, picture this. You're sitting next to him. The mood is relaxed, nothing forced, no pressure, just two people being honest. You lean in, not to kiss, not to take, but calmly you place your fingers gently along his jawline. Hold there just a few seconds. No grin, no flirting, just quiet eye contact. And then you let go. That's all. No drama, no grand gesture. But something in him softens, because in that moment, you're saying without words, I see what you hold back, and I honor it, not to break it, but to stand beside it. And I understand it. Your mind might begin to question, won't he think I'm trying something? Isn't this too serious for such a small moment? What if he doesn't say anything at all? But listen closely, that kind of reaction you're used to chasing, it's surface level stuff. What happens here? It's deeper. It doesn't come out in loud expressions. It shows in quiet eyes, in longer breaths, in the way he stops acting and simply is. Most men are rarely given a space to feel strong and gentle at the same time. But when you touch his jaw with care, not control, not seduction, just acknowledgement, You give him something no one else has, the comfort to let go without fear of being less. It's not control, it's trust. And trust is even rarer than love. So stay with me, because next we're moving somewhere even softer, where things most people ignore still whisper to be noticed. And when you listen, you unlock something even he forgot was still breathing. Number 4, behind the knees, the unseen space. The parts we hide the deepest are the ones that ache the most when someone finally chooses to see them. Let that sink in, my friends, because now we're stepping into the most surprising territory, the space behind the knees. Unusual, right? Almost feels funny to say it. But this space, this quiet, ignored part of the body, holds more meaning than you expect. It's where the shadow lives, the unseen side of him. See, everyone's focused on touching the obvious, the lips, the chest, the hips, the areas the world calls exciting. But when you reach somewhere he never saw coming, where no one else even thought to explore, you do something uncommon. You disarm him, not with seduction, but with attention. Behind the knees might sound small, but symbolically it's a doorway. The knees bend in surrender, in prayer, in exhaustion. Behind them is softness. He doesn't show places he's never shaped, never hardened, never shielded. So when you place your hand there, gently, softly, while he's resting or sitting, you're not just giving a touch. You're saying quietly, I see what you've hidden. And I'm not afraid of it. And yes, I know what your brain might say. Won't he think this is odd? What does this even mean? Isn't that just a part of his leg? But here's the real part. A man isn't waiting for perfect gestures. He's waiting for real presence. For someone who doesn't skip past the parts of him that feel unimportant, even to himself. This is the meaning of the Jungian shadow. The sides we toss away because we were told they didn't deserve the light. And for men, that list is long. Weakness, shame, flaws, stillness. You touch this part and all of a sudden you're not a woman seeking attention. You're someone who sees what others never try. To find you become unforgettable. Because you didn't just go for what he shows, you touched what he keeps hidden. And that, my friends, isn't about attraction. That's about wholeness. That's about telling his spirit even this part is welcome. So stay with me, because next we're heading to the place where thought lives, where pressure grows, and where with the right energy you can give a man the one thing he hardly ever receives: mental calm. Number 5, the scalp, the crown of thought. A man doesn't need you to fix his thoughts. He needs to know it's safe to bring them to rest. Take that in, my friends, because now we're connecting with the space that holds it all. His worries, his stress, his burden. To always have the answer. The scalp. Now I know what you're wondering. Really, his head, yes, but not like the movies. This isn't about running your fingers through his hair like a pet. This is about connection of the mind, a closeness most overlook because it's not dramatic or sensual, but it's true, and true stays. See, a man's head is his battleground. It's where he works things out, where he questions himself, where the need to provide, plan, protect, and not mess things up plays on a loop. It's where doubt grows louder in the middle of the night than any praise ever could in the day. And still, almost no one reaches there with peace. Most people reach to distract him, you reach to calm him. Now imagine this. He's lying back, not broken, just weary. You lean in, not with charm, but with presence. Your fingers land gently on his scalp. No urgency, no pressure, just being. And in that quiet, you're not saying, I want you. You're saying, I'm with you. And that changes something inside him, not in his body, but in his thoughts, because most men don't even realize how noisy life is until someone offers them silence. And maybe you're thinking, but what if he doesn't like being touched there? What if it doesn't feel important? What if it's too quiet? But that's the point. It is quiet. And that's why it matters, because you're not trying to cause a reaction. You're offering calm. You're not demanding focus. You're giving space. Touch his head gently and you're telling him, you don't need to be brilliant right now. You don't need to explain your mind. You're safe even when you don't know the answers. That, my friends, isn't about attraction. That's about healing. And yes, oxytocin is released, but this isn't about chemicals. It's about connection. It's a woman using her stillness to give a man what life never gives: peace of mind without judgment. Stay with me, because next we're heading to the part that's not physical at all. It's something he carries into every plan, every dream, every act. And when you speak to it, everything changes. Number 6, his voice. The door to his meaning. A man will go quiet when the world only hears his noise, but he'll speak forever when someone finally hears his truth. Let that settle in, my friends, because this one, it's not about where your hands go. It's about what you respond with through your words. We're talking about his voice, not the sound, not the pitch, but the message he's been holding back for too long. See, most people hear a man and jump to correct him, tell him to soften up, speak more clearly, be louder, be quieter. The world teaches men to say only what's needed and do it without heart. But behind that voice, there's a stream, a story, a purpose. And most of the time, it gets buried in judgment, control, or simply being ignored. But when you listen, not just with ears, but with respect, you're telling him, I don't just hear your voice, I hear the meaning in it, and it matters. Now, picture this. He's talking about something not impressive, not rehearsed, just a thought, an idea, a belief he's been sitting with. And instead of just nodding or checking your phone, you keep your eyes on him and say, it's simple, honest, and grounded. I really appreciate how you think. Your words make me stop and see things differently. That view, I haven't heard it said that way before. You just did. More than praise him, you returned his voice to him. And yes, I know you might think, but what if he's not expressive? What if he shrugs it off? What if I sound too much? But hear this. It's not about making him feel big. It's about seeing him truly. You're not fueling his pride. You're supporting his belief. Because when you speak to a man's thoughts with that kind of honesty, he starts to feel like his ideas are worth hearing, not just tolerated. Men don't always want praise. They want understanding someone to say, I know what you mean, and I believe in why it matters to you. And when a woman connects with a man in that way, not through performance, but through purpose, his voice doesn't just get louder, it becomes free. Stay with me, because now we're moving to the place where action lives. The part he uses to build, to support, to shape his life. And when you recognize it properly, it's not about power, it's about honoring what he's working to leave behind. Number 7, his hands, the tools of his making. A man's hands are where his heart shows without needing attention. Let that breathe, my friends, because if there's one part of him the world keeps using but never really sees, it's his hands. Those hands do the work. They lift, they fix, they hold the weight of duty, of love, of all the little acts that no one talks about. But how often do we notice them? We celebrate the results, not the effort. We see the job done, not the early effort. We admire the final product, not the sore fingers. His hands, they're the instruments of his becoming. And when you touch them, not like an afterthought, but like they matter. You're saying, I see what you're creating, even if no one else does. Now picture this. He's at the table, scrolling through problems, drinking his coffee, not for comfort, but to keep going. You reach over, not to interrupt, but to connect. You rest your hand in his, not with demand, not with expectation, just stillness. And you say gently, like it's the most normal thing in the world, what you make matters. I see the care in these hands. Thank you for being here even when it's tough. And in that moment, you give him what he rarely gets, approval without a condition. Now, you might be asking, but isn't that too little? Won't he just brush it off? What if he doesn't know how to take that kind of kindness? But here's what you need to understand, that men don't forget what makes them feel truly noticed. They may not show it through tears or say it in long speeches, but when you hold their hands with care, something within them eases. It's not weakness, it's a kind of quiet opening. You're not just touching skin, you're touching years of effort, the stress they carry, the quiet wins they never talked about. Those hands have held weight they never described. And when someone holds them, not to take, but to simply honor them, he begins to feel like he is valued beyond what he can provide. He starts to believe his presence matters, and that belief is the start of loyalty, of connection, of a sense of home. So stay close, because where we're going next isn't just a quiet place, it's a powerful one. The place most women are unsure about, but it carries the doorway to everything. His silence, that stillness, his silence is one of the most sacred places of all. Silence doesn't mean love is missing. It's the space where real truth patiently waits to be welcomed without being feared. Let that truth sit in your heart for a moment, because now we're stepping into the most personal and deep part of a man. His silence, not the silence that avoids you, not the one that pushes you away. I'm talking about that heavy silence that surrounds him when his mind is full, his heart is deep, or his soul is carrying more than he can put into words. Many women get nervous in that space. They feel like they need to talk or ask questions or fill it with something. They start wondering, did something happen? Is he shutting down? Did I do something wrong? But let me tell you a truth that can shift your whole relationship. His silence doesn't mean he's rejecting you. It's a test, a sacred one. Because in that quiet, he's watching, he's feeling, he's asking without a voice. Will you try to fix me, or will you simply be here? Do I need to explain every part of me to be loved, or can I just exist and still feel safe? The woman who's truly awake doesn't rush to fix him. She doesn't fall apart when everything goes still. She understands that quiet is also a form of love. Now picture this. He's laying back, quiet, but not distant, just deep in his own thoughts. And you don't push or question. You just gently lean into the space. Maybe your hand rests lightly on his chest, or maybe you do nothing at all. Just stay there in peace with your breath matching his. You whisper, you don't need to talk right now, I'm right here. That is real power. That is deep intimacy. That is what home feels like. Maybe your past self would have worried, won't he think I don't care if I say nothing? What if we grow distant in the quiet? Isn't love supposed to be full of talking? But here's the truth. Real love doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't have to fill every silence. Sometimes the most healing thing is just staying quiet and staying present. Because if you can meet him in that stillness without needing him to perform for you, that's when you become someone he'll never forget. The silence is not a blank space. It's the place where his heart waits. And the woman who knows how to enter that space without fear is the one he lets stay. So if you've followed along this far, you're not just curious, you're ready to love without fear, ready to be present in a deeper way. These 8 places aren't just about understanding a man. They're about awakening something deeper in you too. Presence, connection, and inner depth. Remember, the real closeness doesn't begin with physical touch. It begins with how you truly see someone. So if this message spoke to something inside you, don't keep it to yourself, like this video. Subscribe for more conversations that go beyond the surface, and share it with someone who's tired of shallow love and ready for something that feels real. Stay steady, stay bright, and I'll meet you again in the next